Jai. So today is a special day. It is the departure anniversary, disappearance day of our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada's beloved spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sri Śrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. An extraordinarily great personality. He lived between 1874 and 1937, actually. January 1st, 1937, he departed just during the Brahma Muhurta at 5:30 in the morning. And actually, or interestingly enough, here we're December 30th, but in India, in Calcutta, where he disappeared, it's the exact actual day, solar and lunar matching this year. They're celebrating it tomorrow, December 31st. So we will depart from the normal procedure of Śrimad Bhāgavatam class. Who's ever going to give the class on Śrimad Bhāgavatam next will have to be aware of that, and spend our time hearing about the glories of this great personality, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada. He is described to be, among many other glorifications, a ray of Vishnu. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was, this is a very rare occurrence, the son of the predecessor Acharya, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he was known as Gaura Shakti, the energy of Lord Chaitanya. He put into action, perhaps for the first time since Lord Chaitanya's appearance in the 1500s, some nearly 400 years later, the actual beginning of preaching or distribution of the knowledge of Krishna consciousness beyond the confines of India. He had the scope and vision to do that, and his writings, which were not just in Bengali but in English as well, laid the foundation for the fulfillment of the prophecy that the message of Krishna consciousness would be spread all over the world. Okay. So, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he was feeling himself overwhelmed by this task, and he prayed to the Lord for help, more or less in these words. Your teachings have very much been depreciated. We see in the material world that something starts off very pure, but over time it becomes degraded, becomes obscured, becomes compromised, or even malinterpreted. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, feeling himself to fight this fight single-handedly, and he spoke these words, or he enunciated like this: "It is not possible for me single-handedly to do this. You must send me someone from your personal staff." So, actually, in Srila Bhakti Saraswati's last days, in one of his talks or speeches, he said, the idea of making a Vaishnava is erroneous because everyone is already a devotee of the Lord. they've simply forgotten. Our job is simply to awake them up, reawaken them to that sublime fact. So, but at the same time, there are those rare personalities who come into this world simply for divine reason. In other words, they're not forced by their previous karma, which is an aggregate combination of their previous good and bad deeds, all mixed up, and with whatever one's particular desires do deserve and demerits destiny. They come simply to enact the will of the Lord. So those personalities, they're not under the laws of nature, like the vast majority of every living entity we find in this material world. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, his life and his activities were quite extraordinary. So we are actually observing his disappearance day. Actually, there is preparation to celebrate his 150th appearance, 1874, 2024, and that takes place in the month of February, March. So for a pure devotee of the Lord, there is no difference between appearance and disappearance, because just like the sun rises and seems to be within our purview, and when it sets, it seems to have disappeared, but that's just from our relative vantage point. The sun never comes into being, nor ceases to be into being, because of its, from our perspective, seemingly rising and setting. And actually, the departure date of great devotees of the Lord is taken to be, in a sense, more significant, because we are marking an entire lifetime. We have an entire lifetime of that pure devotee to take into account and to properly glorify. Whereas at the time of birth or appearance, we even see the appearance of Maharaj Prithu in the fourth canto, that all different types of great personalities come and offer all different types of glorification and predictions as to what type of amazing activities this great personality will perform. And Maharaj Prithu, at a certain point, he stopped them and said that this is like, I haven't even done these things yet. So this is type of embarrassing glorification. So the importance of pure devotees coming into this world is that they accept the position of acharya, or a spiritual master, to give worthy personalities the proper shelter as per the proper procedure as set up by Krishna himself. He sets up what is called the parampara, or disciplic succession. And there is a procedure to be admitted into this disciplic succession. That procedure requires the candidate to be extremely sincere and dedicated, and ready to undergo the rules and regulations of spiritual, to be situated on the spiritual platform. Those rules and regulations are basically four: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. And to keep one's spiritual life protected and progressing properly, to chant a minimum amount of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the Yuga Dharma for everyone, which means that this is the prescribed method for everyone in this particular age, which is, from a material standpoint, a very, very difficult age, the age of Kali, translated as the age of quarrel and dissension, the age of deterioration, the age of disagreement, in such a way that one would be protected from the onslaught of this age, and more than that, be able to actually come to the topmost position of being able to worship the Supreme Lord Krishna and associate with him in that service in the Param Dham, the supreme abode of Goloka Vrindavan. It's described that this chanting is descending or emanating from this supreme planet of Goloka, Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur initiated many, many disciples, and many of them are, well, anyone who comes to the shelter of such a great personality indeed is a great soul, but many showed a very extraordinary activities, demonstrated many wonderful things in their lives. But in particular, it was prophesied that one great personality would come and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So it is understood through the activities and the manifestation of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, that he was that person, and the most notable disciple of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, wrote a Vyas Puja to his spiritual master in 1935, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was very, very pleased and impressed, and understood that this disciple, Abhay Charan Aravinda, at the time he was known, and understood the very heart of his mission and his intentions. Adore ye all the happy day, blessed in heaven, sweeter than May, when he appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle, struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope, his divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wander thy ways to turn our face. Adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all untraced, the only hope is divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a healthful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. And this particular stanza very much pleased Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast moved. This gives us a life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the mace. Save me a fallen, your divine grace. The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, your divine grace. When this poem reached Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, it gave him great pleasure. The stanza, absolute is sentient, thou hast proved, impersonal calamity, thou hast moved, specifically made him so happy that he made a point of showing it to all of his guests. Somehow, in this simple couplet, Abhay had captured the essence of his spiritual master's preaching against the Mayavadis, the impersonalists. These are unscrupulous personalities who say crazy things like, We are all God. There is no personal God. There is no need to surrender to an individual God. Whatever you do, that in and of itself is divine because you are God. This is completely nonsensical and actually, from all points of view, extremely illegal. We can think of a mundane parallel that if everybody wished to say or think that whatever I decide is law and order and I do that, that's fine because I have the right to create what I consider law or truth. Your truth is beautiful. Well, that's your truth, but my truth is different. He found this essay so pleasing, and he showed it to some of his confidential devotees. He instructed the editor of his publications, whatever he writes, publish it. So, towards the end of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's presence on this planet, our Srila Prabhupada, feeling himself somewhat insufficient from the point of view practically that he was in married life and he, with his responsibilities in that ashram, the Grihastha ashram, he wasn't practically able to take part like his other godbrothers who were brahmacharis and sannyasis in the renounced order of life, being able to serve the mission more and be able to take the association of their divine spiritual master in more plentiful quantities, have more time to do so. So, and seeing his spiritual master's ill health and signs that he was preparing to depart this planet, he wrote his spiritual master a letter. He is a little kind upon me, Abai thought. He will understand my request. And he began to write, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. You have got many disciples, and I am one of them, but they are doing direct service to you. Some of them are brahmacharis, some of them are sannyasis, but I am a householder. I cannot. Sometimes I give monetary help, while I cannot give you direct service. Is there any particular service I can do? 2 weeks later, Abai received a reply. I am fully confident that you can explain in English our thoughts and arguments to the people who are not conversant with the languages of the other members. This will do much good to yourself as well as your audience. I have every hope that you can turn yourself into a very good English preacher if you serve the mission to inculcate the novel impression of Lord Chaitanya's teachings in the people in general, as well as philosophers and religionists. Abai at once recognized this as the very same instruction he had received at their first meeting in 1922. He took it as a confirmation. There was now no doubt as to the purpose of his life. What his spiritual master had said in Calcutta in 1922, he was only 25 years old at the time, was coming as a reluctant visitor. He had a friend. Our Srila Prabhupada was known to be the leader of his group. And all of his contemporary friends, they would always want to see what Srila Prabhupada, Srila Abhaycharan Aravinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, what he thought of a particular person, a particular idea, a particular place, whatever it was. And if he gave his approval, then all of the friends would, okay, we'll go, this is good, because Srila Prabhupada says it's good. So his friend, whose name was Narendranath Malik, had met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati at his headquarters in Calcutta, and was so much impressed that he wanted to get to see what Srila Prabhupada's opinion was. But Srila Prabhupada had seen, as he was growing up, many charlatan or improper, bogus so-called sadhus and saintly persons who were more or less just exploiting the dress and status of the saintly person to earn money, make a livelihood, acquire name, fame, profit, adoration, and distinction. And he was very, very disappointed and very alert to not give his heart or his money or any due respect to such charlatans. So he was protesting to his friend, I don't need to meet any more so-called sadhus. And his friend was, no, this personality is different. He's the real thing. You got to meet him. And it got into such a friendly quarrel between the two that he ultimately had to be dragged, pulled by the arm, know that you must meet him. And all right, so they came into the temple and they went up to the rooftop, which in India, in the warm weather, is a good place to be in the evening because it's more cool there because the whole house has become very hot. Uh, and immediately upon coming into the presence of this great personality, even before rising from offering respects, he said, you are an intelligent young man. Why don't you spread Lord Chaitanya's message all over the world? So Krishna and the authorized acharyas, they waste no time in giving us our instructions, which were meant to follow to its most fruitful end from the very beginning of hearing that for the rest of our life and all of eternity. What his spiritual master had said in Calcutta in 1922 had not been a chance remark, nor had it been a chance meeting. The instruction was the same. Turn yourself into a very good English preacher. This will do good to yourself as well as your audience. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta passed away from the mortal world on January 1, 1937. He had been spending his last days reading Chaitanya Charitamrita and chanting on his beads. Srila Prabhupada said that in his later life, when he had more leisure, he would simply read Chaitanya Charitamrita. It was his favorite book. And he said there would come a time when people will learn Bengali to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in our Srila Prabhupada's limited time, his life's work was to translate the entire Śrimad Bhāgavatam, but in 1974, he recommenced what he had completed in 1968, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is the essence or synopsis of the most important philosophical presentations in the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, to translate it in its entirety. And in the concluding words, Srila Prabhupada wrote that if my spiritual master was here physically, it would be a time for great rejoicing. And Srila Prabhupada went on to say that this International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been formed to fulfill the desire of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada. So this is a very important thing that we should always keep in mind. Srila Prabhupada's relationship with his spiritual master based on absolute surrender and 110 more percent devotion to his spiritual master personally and to his mission. So this is the beauty of disciplic succession, that we recognize the greatness of our predecessors and dedicate our life and soul to try to fulfill their mission and desires without any desire for personal name, fame, and recognition out of the affair, which we see in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's last days. He was very, very concerned about that anomaly happening and offered many, many instructions and cautions to be aware of this great mistake. And we'll get to that a little bit in due course of time. When a doctor had visited him wanting to give him an injection, vaccine, he had protested, "Why are you disturbing me in this way? Simply chant Hare Krishna, that's all." Amongst his last words to his disciples were, "I advise all of you to preach the teachings of Rupa Raghunath," the disciples, two of the chief disciples of the six Goswamis, of Lord Chaitanya, "with all energy and resources. Our ultimate goal shall be to become the dust of the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath Goswamis. You should all work conjointly under the guidance of your spiritual master, with a view to serve the absolute knowledge, the personality of Godhead. You should live somehow or other without any quarrel in this mortal world, only for the service of Godhead. Do not, please, give up the service of Godhead, in spite of all dangers, all criticisms, and all discomforts. Do not be disappointed, for most people in the world do not serve the personality of Godhead. Do not give up your own service, which is your everything and all. Neither reject the process of chanting and hearing of the transcendental holy name of Godhead. You should always chant the transcendental name of Godhead with patience and forbearance like a tree, and humbleness like a straw. There are many amongst you who are well qualified and able workers. We have no other desire whatsoever. Please accept my blessings to you all, present and absent. Please bear in mind that our sole duty and religion is to spread and propagate service to the Lord and of his devotees. At 5:30 a.m. on January 1, he departed this world. Very soon, news reached Abai in Bombay. His immediate response was to cry with grief. No more the joy of an anticipated meeting. No more trips to Calcutta or Vrindavan on a plea of business, just to see the tall, commanding form of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, the evangelic angel. His physical stature was remarkable. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared in Jagannath Puri, Orissa, now known as Odisha. He, as the son, physically we can understand, of Bengali Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his saintly mother Bhagavati Devi, they were Bengali, and by stature, Bengalis are smaller or shorter than other places of India. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he stood 6 foot 1 inches tall, and he had a very, very fair and light complexion. Very, very extraordinary. Srila Prabhupada said, "What can I say of my spiritual master? He was a Vaikuntha man." In other words, he was a person from the spiritual world. The sense of never meeting again was difficult to bear. Philosophically, Abai knew that there was no reason to lament. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had come into the world to execute the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and now it was required that he leave this place and go to another, where he would again engage in the same activity. Yet, armed with this philosophy, Abai felt all alone. His two great well-wishers were gone. His father was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It was his father, and also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not want to give initiation to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. One reason was that some people would misinterpret that in like a caste or seminal line, which is often done. The idea that you have to be born in the higher caste or as a Brahmin, and if you're not born that way, you have no right ever to be a Brahmin or to advance yourself spiritually. So to curtail that, he directed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta to take initiation from the great Paramahamsa Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji, and also by the Lord's arrangement. Lord Chaitanya was very much keen on doing this as he arranged Rupa and Sanatan, Haridas Thakur to be the leaders of his movement, but they were not considered, what to speak of Haridas Thakur, of the Brahminical caste. So Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji was practically illiterate, not an intellectual, seemingly, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was known as the greatest scholar of his time, made the remark that all the sophistication of the entire universe is present within one speck of dust at the feet of my spiritual master. Like that. So to dismantle this false pride. So his father, and such a test for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur disappeared in June of 2014, and just 17 months later, in November of the following year, his spiritual master departed. And he didn't have the time or the luxury to go on a retreat or to take some time off or just to be in seclusion or alone. He had to start the mission. He took sannyas just 2 or 3 years afterwards and began what he wanted to be the international mission. And it was international, sending preachers to London. Actually, in October 1936, he sent his disciple Bhakti Saranga Goswami to London with instructions to go on to the United States. He said, I wanted to preach in America, but because of internal quarrel within the Mat, my life has been diminished by 10 years. So this is the seeming circumstances of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's departure should be a very great lesson for all devotees to never get into such quarrel and dissension based on material desires that it causes such displeasure to the spiritual master that he wishes to depart the planet. Srila Prabhupada, he said, the condition is different, that I love your company, and he wanted to stay amongst us, and ultimately Krishna's will was for him to depart when he did. He was grateful to have received a special mercy, a final instruction, just 2 weeks before his spiritual master's departure. Abai read this letter again and again. There would not be another. The intimate talks and meetings were now gone, but this letter especially, but by this letter, Abai would live in the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. The letter had come just in time. Now he knew for certain, no matter what anyone else said, how to please his spiritual master and stay linked with Krishna. Following his order, he would conquer the feeling of loss at the disappearance of his most affectionate well-wisher. And Srila Prabhupada demonstrated that reliance and complete understanding of the association of his spiritual master to the supreme degree. Practically speaking, he demonstrated that here in this place, New York City, where he came all alone, with no money, no support. He simply had the contact of a Mayavadi, as we were saying earlier, one who preaches this nonsensical doctrine, which is so opposite and so averse, so obnoxious, so offensive to the actual position of pure devotion to the personality, supreme personality of Godhead. And you have to take this person's charity just to be able to stay warm and be able to eat and to be able to bathe properly for 6 months on the Upper West Side. Wandering the streets of Manhattan, understanding what was to come, but putting up with all this incredible austerity, walking 4 avenue blocks and 3 regular blocks back and forth every day from late October all the way until April of the following year. And by historical accounts kept, it was one of the coldest and snowiest winters ever in New York City. I never felt alone. I always felt the presence of my spiritual master. On the disappearance day of his spiritual master in 1968, Srila Prabhupada said, I was then doing some business. All of a sudden, on this date, sometime between 9th or 10th December, at that time, Guru Maharaj was indisposed little, and he was staying at Jagannath Puri on the seashore. So he describes how he wrote this letter. So I took that order of my spiritual master very seriously, but I did not think that I have to do such and such a thing. I was at that time a householder. This is the arrangement of Krishna. If we strictly try to serve the spiritual master, his order, then Krishna will give us all facilities. That is the secret. So this temple that we are residing in, now in one of the highest priced real estates in New York City and practically the world, this is the facility offered by Krishna to Srila Prabhupada, who is 100% serving his spiritual master, so that we can reside in this palace and so many other such properties all around the world. We're sharing in the mercy of the predecessor acharyas in their reciprocation and relationship with their beloved lords. That is the secret. Although there was no possibility, I never thought, but I took it a little seriously by studying a commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti on Bhagavad Gita in this connection, 241, Vyavasyatmika Buddha Ekaya Gurunandana. We should take up the words from the spiritual master as our life and soul. We should try to carry out the instruction, the specific instruction of the spiritual master very rigidly, without caring for our personal benefit or loss. So I tried a little bit in that spirit. He has given me all facilities to serve him. Things have now come to the stage that in this old age I have come to your country, and you are also taking this movement seriously. Try to understand it. We have got some books now, so there is a little foothold of this movement. Now on this occasion of my spiritual master's departure, as I am trying to execute his will, similarly, I shall also request you to execute this same order through my will. I am an old man. I can also pass away at any moment. That is nature's law. Nobody can check it, so that is not very astonishing. But I appeal to you on this auspicious day, the departure of my Guru Maharaj, that at least to some extent you have understood the essence of the Krishna consciousness movement. You should try to push it on. People are suffering for want of this movement. So that is the inner heart of the pure devotees who come to this world to accept the role of Acharya. Their heart is simply melting with compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. We glorify the Vaishnava, that they are oceans of mercy and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. And in this world, the only pure vision, the only pure activity is to see everyone in terms of their actual latent potential, which is covered over by so much illusion. This world is not illusion that it's unreal. This world is illusory. In other words, it is bewildered by illusion. If someone is hypnotized or an illusion, it doesn't mean that they're not real. It means that they are in a state of unreality. So the point is to bring them back to reality, back home, back to Godhead. This Krishna consciousness movement is authorized, very important. Now, you American boys and girls who have taken to this movement, please take it more seriously. And that is the mission of Lord Chaitanya and my Guru Maharaj. And we're also trying to execute the will of the disciplic succession. You have come forward to help me. I shall request you all that I shall go away, but you shall live. Don't give up pushing on this movement, and you will be blessed by Lord Chaitanya and His divine grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So there are many wonderful ways that we can associate with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur today and every day. There is the Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, was very nice, volume 1 in particular, and one of the first books made. This was made in the late 1980s, Raya Vishnu, by Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Rupa Vilas Prabhu. And recently, within the last 14, 15 years, I believe, came out in 2009, the very large, voluminous, and quite comprehensive Srila Bhakti Siddhanta by Bhav in 3 volumes, which was presented by Srila Prabhupada's disciple, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Krishna Kripa Prabhu.
Thank you for sharing some of the glories of Bhakti Siddhanta, especially his instructions at the end of his life to the members. That's always very powerful to hear on this day. I proofread that book by Bhakti Vikas Swami, and while I was reading it, I found the most powerful statement about the congregational chanting of the holy name that I'd ever heard in my years as a devotee. So I just wanted to read it because it's an opportunity. Sri Nam Sankirtan is the best sadhana. If other sadhanas help us in Krishna's Sankirtan, then they deserve to be called sadhana. Otherwise, they are simply impediments to sadhana. Sri Krishna Nam Sankirtan is the emperor of all sadhanas. It is the only infallible sadhana capable of bringing us to siddhi. So we can understand that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is very happy about our program to chant 12 hours a day and many hours every day.
12 hours is only halfway. We want to make 24-hour kirtan in New York City. Somehow or another. That's the goal. Not mythology, imagination, or fantastic yes. Anything else? All right, thank you very much. Om Vishnupad, Shri Śrimad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charnar, Vidna Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribol.